Chapter 68. The Empire. The professor had parked the motorcycle by the side of the one-way street, watching the stream of cars carrying guests and staff away from the castle. Azer sat in the sidecar observing anxiously the drivers. One of them had to be Topaz. But many people were hidden behind tinted windows. Protected from the rain, guests in comfortable seats watched the motorcycle on the roadside. The professor, dressed in black leather and antique glasses, seemed like a ghost from the past. Azer observed a woman driver in a Maserati, wondering if she could be Topaz. However, she wasn't. He turned to the professor asking, "If we encounter Julius Fox again, what's our plan?" After a moment of silence, the professor responded, "I mentioned before that my father took part in the war in Spain against Franco's forces. He was captured on his way back home and sent to a concentration camp. Inside the KZ camp, prisoners had only two valuable goods to trade: cigarettes and bread. Among the prisoners there were two distinct groups. Those with a stronger will to survive traded cigarettes for bread, and those who had lost hope exchanged their bread for cigarettes. As the saying, where there's a way, there's a will." Azer glanced at him and after a short pause said, "You meant the other way around, didn't you? Where there's a will, there's a way." The professor looked at him and said, "Well, that's right." With a hint of protest in his voice, Azer added, "You did it on purpose. Did you not?" The professor conceded, "Well, you noticed that too. It is not so easy to run around corners with an intelligent journalist." He added, "In my conversation with the patients, I purposely changed the words of a proverb to observe their reaction. It is an integrated test of attention and overall function of the frontal lobes, especially the right side. It is an ability you develop between the ages of 4 and 5 and lose if you develop dementia, especially if the cause is vitamin deficiency or excessive alcohol consumption." He added, "I described it in a publication when I was young and still had great academic ambitions. Since then, I have been waiting for someone to add my name to it and call it the Poinsett test. But it hasn't happened yet and it probably never will either." Azer replied with a smile, "Our mutual friend Jose puts me through the same thing time and time again when we are washing dishes or cooking in the student collective La Casa in Spain. He typically uses the saying, 10 birds in the hand are better than one on the roof." Azer didn't mention, Jose used to use the method to change the subject and avoid answering a question. Azer had a suspicion that the professor was avoiding directly addressing the question of their next step. He hoped that the professor's strategy was peaceful. After all, he had loaded his fishing boat with explosives, intending to sail it under the castle to demolish it. So, Azer specifically inquired, "What's your approach to dealing with Julius Fox?" The professor replied, "People often say that no plan survives the initial battle of a war. This is because the path a war takes, much like life itself, is unpredictable and analog, while structured plans are rigid and digital. The reason why both students and educators often feel immense pressure in a traditional classroom setting is that the human brain runs in an analog manner, which doesn't align with the strict schedule of education, which is predetermined and digital." After a brief pause, he continued, "The reason we've achieved so far is that we've approached things in an analog way, tackling each challenge as it comes, with an overarching goal of putting Julius Fox out of business. If we had followed a digital path, then we would have played by his rules without even being able to come near that castle with a huge army inside." In an attempt to shield himself from the heavy rain, Azer pulled his jacket over his ears and remarked, "That was a very interesting neurophilosophical lecture on the differences between analog and digital phenomena." He then added with a grin, "In other words, you've no idea what is coming next." The professor could sense Azer's skepticism and explained, "In the past, Chinese empires were repeatedly defeated by the nomadic tribes from Mongolia, because those tribes acted in an analog way, just as they had learned to survive in the unpredictable harshness of the desert. An empire, however, is governed digitally from a palace, following a fixed plan with predictable responses. In warfare, there's nothing more effective than the element of surprise. He tapped his palm on the motorcycle's gas tank and said, "We're like nomads." Without looking back, he gestured toward the burning castle in the distance and added, "Julius Fox is running a digital empire." An explosion rumbled beneath the motorcycle and made Azer turn and gaze at the blazing castle in the dark. He expressed his concern, "I'm really worried about Topaz. I'm not even sure if she managed to escape from the castle." The professor replied, "To me she was quick and agile like a cat. They say cats have multiple lives for a reason." Azer considered, "Perhaps she did escape and is waiting for us somewhere near the castle." Despite his uncertainty about driving against the flow of traffic on the one-way street, he asked, "Do you think it's a good idea to head towards the castle to search for Topaz?" Without much hesitation, the professor started the engine and said, "Let's give it a shot." He drove out onto the road, maneuvering through the traffic and avoiding potential collisions with oncoming cars, which were blinding him with their bright headlights. Simultaneously, he battled against the powerful storm.